In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the busy trade routes and powerful empires, there was a planet named Zorak. It was a cold world, full of tall stone mountains and deep red skies. Life there moved slowly, and stories from the past were. All the people had left to feel connected to something bigger. Zorak was one of them, a tall, thin alien with pale skin and bright golden eyes. He lived alone inside a giant library carved into a mountain. He had spent his entire life reading, translating, and studying ancient texts. But there was one story that always made his hands shake when he read it, the legend of Earth. Earth. He whispered one night as he turned a yellowed page. The world of humans, the myth of power and destruction. But was it ever real? Most people laughed at the idea of Earth. To them, it was only a tale to scare children or a bedtime story, told during blackouts. But Zorak felt different. The way old texts described humans, they were not just monsters. They were intelligent, emotional, and unpredictable. And then one night, something happened that changed everything. A loud humming filled the library, coming from the communication crystal on the wall. It hadn't glowed in decades. Zorak rushed over and touched the crystal with shaking fingers. A message appeared in a language no one had seen in over 1,000 years. "This is Earth Command," the voice said. "We are returning." Zorak stepped back, his mouth open. The voice was calm, clear, and strong. And without a doubt, it was human. Within hours, the entire planet of Zorak was in chaos. Other communication crystals lit up too. The message was spreading across systems, playing again and again. "This is Earth Command. We are returning." The Galactic Council, a group of powerful species who ruled the central systems, called an emergency meeting. Leaders from the bird-like Serani, the crystal-bodied trillions, and the long-limbed Orphans gathered in a sky tower above the core planet. "This must be a joke," said Council Leader Drex, slamming his clawed fist on the table. "It's not a joke," replied another council member. "The language matches ancient human speech perfectly." A silence fell over the room. Everyone had heard the legends. Earth was once the heart of human civilization. Thousands of years ago, humans had spread across stars, fought great wars, and then vanished. No wreckage, no signal, nothing, just silence. Some believed they destroyed themselves. Others believed they became something else. But Zorak knew something more. He had seen maps in old books, maps with a strange system marked. So, he was invited to the council, not as a leader, but as a historian. As he stood before the aliens, he cleared his throat and said, "Earth might not be a myth. I believe it was hidden on purpose." The council didn't like that. They dismissed him quickly. But 1 trillion ambassadors stayed behind and asked, quietly, why would Earth return now? Zorak looked out the window at the stars and whispered, maybe they were watching, waiting. The very next day, a long-range scanning station near the dead belt, an empty area of space, picked up something strange. A ship. It wasn't moving fast, but its energy signature was unlike anything the scanners had ever seen. And worse, the design matched old human warships. The council sent a stealth team. Zorak begged to go along. He wanted to see it with his own eyes. Reluctantly, they agreed. When Zorak stepped onto the ghost ship, he felt cold air wrap around him like a shadow. The walls were dark metal, smooth and quiet, no lights. No crew, just silence. Then, without warning, a screen lit up. A face appeared. Human, but not alive. A recording. If you're seeing this, the man said, then Earth is awakening. This ship is only a memory, but our truth will follow. The ship powered on. Engines roared quietly. Lights glowed red. It began moving on its own heading toward the galactic core. The council went into panic. What did Earth want? Why send this ship first? Was it a warning? A test? News spread like fire. On distant planets, old statues of humans were dug out. People began to remember. Some feared. Others hoped. Vorik, now watched closely by security, returned to his library to learn more. He opened a hidden vault, untouched for centuries. Inside was a forbidden book written in the voice of a human general. We trusted the council. We gave them peace. But they betrayed us. Earth will return, not with war, but with memory. Vorik gasped, so it was true. The council had hidden. Earth lied about it, erased it from maps. But why? He presented his findings, but the council denied everything. This is dangerous, Leader Drex growled. Burn that book, and forget this fantasy. But it was too late. The signal had awakened. Something much deeper. On the edge of the galaxy, strange ships appeared. Not attacking, just watching. Silent. Beautiful. Like shadows made of metal and light. One by one, small machines began to appear on major planets. Probes. They scanned cities, skies, life. And then they spoke. We are the first breath. The voice of Earth, we remember. Do you? Panic rose again. Some planets prepared weapons. Others tried to welcome the machines. But Earth remained silent, except for the probes. Vorik spoke to one of the machines. Why are you here? He asked. The probe answered, to see if you are ready, to see if you have changed. What happens if we have not? There was a long pause. Then we bring the truth. The council declared the probes illegal. Many were destroyed. But for every one destroyed, another two arrived, faster, quieter, smarter. Vorik was arrested for helping Earth. Locked away, alone. But the probe that spoke to him followed. From his prison cell, he looked out and saw something impossible. A ship. Not a scout, not a drone. A full human starship, larger than any structure in orbit. It slowly moved into view, blocking the stars. It didn't attack. It didn't speak. And yet, the whole galaxy felt it. That night, Earth sent one last message. We gave you peace. You gave us silence. Now we speak again. Suddenly, screens across the galaxy lit up. Not with war threats, but with history.images of humans building cities on alien worlds, saving planets from disasters, creating peace between ancient enemies. Then images of betrayal, Earth being blamed for crimes it didn't commit. Earth being pushed away, forgotten. And then silence. The message ended with a simple phrase. We do not return in anger. We return with memory. What you do with it is up to you. Vorik was released. People began to protest against the council. Old records were reopened, statues rebuilt, books rewritten. The giant human ship still said nothing. It just floated. Watching. Then, one day, a door opened. A small craft exited. It flew to the core planet and landed. Out came one person. A human. He stood tall, wearing white armor with glowing lines. No weapons. Just eyes that held centuries of pain and wisdom. I am not your enemy, he said. I am your reminder. The council fell silent. They didn't know what to do. But the people knew. Vorik was chosen as the first to speak. He walked up to the human and bowed slightly. Welcome back, he said. We're ready to listen. The human nodded. Then Earth is ready to speak. The galaxy had not known silence like this for centuries. Since the arrival of the human ship, huge, dark, and still, no words had come from Earth. No weapons fired. No threats made. Just silence. But that silence made the Galactic Council nervous, very nervous. Inside the highest tower of the core planet, council leaders gathered again. The sky outside their window was filled with the slow movement of ships, fleets of every species ready for war, unsure what to aim at. The black silhouette of the human vessel floated near the stars like a sleeping god. We must decide what to do, said Council Leader Drex. His voice shook, not from fear, at least that's what he told himself, but from the unknown. Ambassador Rill of the Trillions spoke next. Her crystal body glimmered under the lights. Earth has not attacked. They haven't spoken in days. Perhaps they only want to be seen. Seen? Snapped Drex. They sent a ship larger than a city. They sent machines to spy on us. They revealed our lies. And you think they want peace? No one knows what they want, said an old voice behind them. All eyes turned. Vorik had entered, escorted by guards, but he stood tall. No longer just a historian, now he was the one who spoke for truth. Drex frowned. You were released too early. The people demanded it, Vorik replied calmly. They want answers. And Earth gave us none. That doesn't mean they come to destroy. A nervous orphan ambassador, thin as bone and pale like smoke, whispered, or maybe they are testing us. Watching how we respond. Preparing. No one disagreed. That was the problem. No one knew Earth's intentions. Suddenly, a message came. Through the crystal panels lining the council chamber. It was not from Earth, but from a hidden group within the council itself. It was. The silence. The voice spoke low and sharp. The human threat must be erased before it spreads. Earth must never speak again. Gasps filled the room. Drex stepped forward, shouting, You have no right. Rights mean nothing when survival is at risk, the voice replied coldly. Earth was silent for a reason. They should stay that way. Then the message ended. But the warning remained. Like smoke in the air. Outside, the stars shimmered. Then blinked. Lights moved. Earth's ship had activated. Everyone in the chamber froze. What are they doing? Whispered Ambassador Ril. No one had the answer. But far above, sensors began to panic. Earth's ship was scanning the entire core planet, every building, every person, every secret. Vorik's mind raced. They're not preparing an attack, he said quietly. They're collecting data, learning, measuring. Measuring what? Asked Drex, fear finally showing in his eyes. Justice, Vorik replied. The council quickly called for a lockdown. Space stations were closed. Civilian ships were ordered to stay grounded. But fear could not be locked away on the lower levels. Of the core, protests had begun. People demanded truth. They chanted Earth's name. Not in fear but in hope. The silence saw this too. That same night, in secret, they launched a weapon, a stealth drone armed with ancient tech. It had only one job. Destroy the human ship. The drone sped through space, undetected, its surface cloaked in black plasma. It neared the Earth vessel, silent, invisible. But as it approached, something strange happened. The human ship lit up with soft blue lights, forming a pattern across its surface like veins. Then, without firing a single shot, it sent a wave of light in all directions. The drone simply stopped. It floated. Dead, no energy, no threat. Back on the planet, alarms rang out. They neutralized the weapon, said a technician. Not with force, with control. Drex stared at the screen. How? Vorik answered before anyone else could. Earth has evolved. The next morning, a small pod left the human ship again. Everyone held their breath. Would it be another silent visitor? Another warning? The pod landed in a quiet valley on the moon of Sarakar. This time, it carried not a machine, but a message disc. A single line. We gave you silence. You responded with fear. Now we give you choice. The message played across every world, translated into every language. The meaning was clear. Earth was not demanding power. It was giving the galaxy a chance to speak first. Now the council had to decide. Some called for peace. Others screamed for preemptive war. Fear pulled the leaders apart like a storm. In the chaos, Vorik called a secret meeting with Ril and a few other ambassadors who still believed. In truth, we must respond peacefully, he said. Earth has given us a test. If we answer with hate, they will have reason to act. But what if they're lying? Asked Ril. What if this is their game? Vorik nodded. Then let it be. But we must be better than we were. They agreed. The small group began writing a message of peace, one that admitted past wrongs, but offered future respect. It wasn't easy. The council would never approve. But maybe Earth would hear it. Before the message could be sent, the silence struck again. They hijacked a satellite near Earth's ship and used it to send a false attack, command firing a plasma beam toward the vessel. This time, Earth responded. The beam never reached the ship. It was frozen in place mid-space by an invisible force. Then the beam shattered like glass. Earth's voice returned for the first time in days. Calm. Cold. You were warned. Yet you test us. There will be no second warning. The sky above. The core planet turned dark. Earth's ship moved slightly, just a few kilometers. But that movement felt like a storm approaching. Vorik ran to the council chamber, demanding they act. Send the peace message, now! Drex shouted. You've brought this doom on us. Vorik stepped closer. You brought this by hiding the truth for 1,000 years. Before Drex could reply, the screens lit up again. This time, it wasn't Earth. It was one of the core cities, burning. A rebel group, inspired by the silence, had attacked a human probe stationed in orbit. Earth's ship didn't fire back. It simply disabled every system in that region without causing harm. But the message was clear. They could do much more. The council finally broke. Under pressure from protests, panicked leaders, and a galaxy. On edge, they allowed Vorik's peace message to be sent. The message said, "We remember what was done. We remember who you were. And now we wish to meet the new Earth, in peace. In truth." For 2 days there was no reply, nothing. On the third day, a pod landed on the core planet itself. From it, a human stepped out again, dressed in white armor, unarmed. This one was different. He looked older, calmer. His voice was soft. "I am not here to judge," he said. "But you must understand, Earth remembers everything. The silence, the betrayal, the lies. We left not because we were weak, but because we chose to grow. Now we ask you, are you ready to grow too?" The chamber was silent. Even Drex had nothing to say. Vorik stepped forward. He spoke slowly. "Yes, we are ready, and we are sorry." The human smiled, a real smile. Not of victory, but of hope. "Then let us begin again." That day the galaxy changed, not with weapons, not with war, but with words, and far above, Earth's great ship remained still, watching, waiting, but no longer silent. The stars above the core planet looked the same, but everything had changed. Since the arrival of the human ship and the message of peace, silence had returned, but this time, it was the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Earth hadn't attacked. They hadn't responded with violence. They had only asked one thing: "Are you ready to grow too?" The council had agreed. They had welcomed Earth's return with uneasy words of peace. But deep inside the great tower of the galactic core, fear still lived in the shadows. Vorik sat alone in his library chamber, reading through old digital records. His eyes scanned symbols written in forgotten languages, human texts, lost history. A soft light flickered beside him, showing images from the past. Cities built by humans, planets restored. Conflicts ended, but also betrayal. The humans had once trusted the council. They had shared knowledge, offered peace, even saved entire species from extinction. Then something happened. Something dark. Records ended, names were deleted. Whole timelines erased. "Someone didn't want us to remember," Vorik whispered. "They wanted Earth to disappear from history." A soft sound behind him made him turn. It was Rill, the crystal-bodied Trillian. "Ambassador." Her voice was quiet. "You're still searching," she said. "Yes," Vorik replied, "because the past isn't finished with us yet." Rill moved closer. "The silence is still active. They haven't stopped. They just went deeper underground." Vorik nodded slowly. and I believe they're hiding something. Something from the old wars. Like what? She asked. He hesitated. Then he opened a file marked with a red warning symbol. Like this, he said. On the screen, a faded map appeared. It showed the edge of the galaxy, a dark place full of dead stars and drifting metal. In the center was a name, Project Solus. It was a joint operation between humans and the Council, Vorik explained. They said it was a weapons lab, but there's no record of any weapons. No logs, no reports, just silence. Rill frowned. And you think Earth hasn't forgotten about this place? I think they haven't forgiven. Vorik and Rill left the library that night, quietly boarding the scout ship without telling the Council. They had one goal: reach the Solus system before Earth did, before it was too late. The journey took 2 days. They passed asteroid fields and radiation belts. Strange signals echoed across their ship's walls, old human voices repeating broken words in endless loops. As they neared the Solus system, their scanners began to fail. Static filled the screens. Lights flickered. We're not alone here, Rill whispered. The planet Solus 3 came into view. Once green, it now looked burned, with black scars running across its surface. Orbiting above it was a broken space station, silent and cold, its metal frame twisted like it had been torn apart by invisible claws. Their ship landed on a small platform, still active on the station's edge. Vorik stepped out first, holding a light. Rill followed close behind. Inside the station, dust floated in the air like frozen ghosts. The halls were wide, but empty. No life signs. But the machines were still humming faint, low, like whispers. In a cave, a computer screen lit up on its own. Welcome back. Rill gasped. Who said that? A voice came from the walls. Calm, male, human. You have come seeking truth. But truth comes with a price. The door beside them opened slowly. Beyond it was a room filled with memory cores, data banks from a forgotten time. Vorik stepped forward and placed his hand on the console. The system accepted his touch, and thousands of images flashed in front of them. They saw scientists, human and alien, working side by side. They saw peaceful tests, hopeful missions, and unity. Then, the change. They saw weapons being tested on living prisoners. Human leaders yelling in confusion. Council soldiers entering labs and seizing control. And finally, silence. They turned against us, said the voice. We came to help. They made us disappear. The room shook slightly. Vorik, Rill, said her voice tight. This station is still being watched. I know, he said, but we need more. They moved deeper into the station, following the voice. They found rooms filled with frozen capsules inside them, humans in deep sleep. Cryo units, Rill whispered. Why are they still here? Vorik checked the panel. These are the original scientists. They were locked away. Not dead. Preserved. As evidence. The voice returned, quieter this time. They erased our names, but they could not erase what we knew. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. RIL turned fast. We're not alone anymore. A ship was arriving. Not Earth. Not Council. The silence. Black drones burst into the station, weapons drawn. Vorik grabbed Rill's hand and ran. They hid behind old machinery, listening as the drones searched the halls. Destroy the cores, one of them said. Erase it all. Earth cannot use this. Rill's eyes widened. They don't want Earth. To find out, Vorik clenched his jaw. They're too late. He reached into his coat and pulled out a data chip. I already copied the truth. Rill stared. How did you? I knew they'd come. Just then, a drone spotted them. It fired. The blast hit the wall beside them, sending sparks into the air. Vorik and Rill ran again, deeper into the lower levels. They reached an old launch bay. There's an escape pod, Rill said. Vorik nodded. But we need to send the data first. He found a console and slammed the chip into it. The system whirred to life. Data flew through the screen, rushing toward one destination, the human ship. Outside, the black drones kept coming. "Hurry!" Rill shouted. Vorik pressed the final command. Sent. They dove into the escape pod. Seconds later, the launch bay exploded behind them. The pod shot out into space, shaking from the blast. From above, the human ship moved. Lights across its hull began to glow. Then, the voice returned, stronger now. "We have received your truth. And we remember." The human ship activated a beam, not to destroy, but to cleanse. It fired down on the station, erasing the last drones of the silence. But the humans inside the frozen capsules were left untouched. Safe, Vorik and Rill floated. Silently in space, watching. "They knew," Rill said quietly. "They always knew the truth was here," Vorik nodded. "They just waited for us to prove we were ready to face it." When they returned to the core planet, the council was waiting. Drek stood angry, but defeated. The truth had arrived before them, broadcasted, shared. The people had seen everything. A new message from Earth came shortly after, not a warning. A choice. We do not seek revenge, but we will not forget. The future must be built on truth. It will fall again. The council changed that day. New leaders were chosen. The silence was hunted, exposed, and broken. And Vorik, he was no longer just a historian. He became something else. He became the bridge between the past and the future. Because the shadows of the past had finally come into the light. The human ship hovered silently above the galactic core, casting a long shadow over the capital world. After the truth from the Salu station was revealed, everything changed. The people were angry at the council. Protests rose. Secrets were no longer safe, and Earth was no longer a myth, but something still didn't feel right. Vorik, now one of the most trusted figures in the galaxy, stood alone in the quiet garden of the council hall. A soft breeze moved the leaves around him. Above, the stars blinked like eyes. He looked up and whispered to himself, "If the station held only part of the truth, then what else is still hidden?" He wasn't wrong to wonder. The Salus records had shown the trail humans pushed out, blamed, silenced. But the full story of what happened to Earth after that remained buried. That night, a message arrived. Private. Unmarked. It came not from the council, not from any known world, but from the human ship itself. The message was only a sentence. "If you want the whole truth, come alone," Vorik felt. His hands shake as he read it again. He had faced danger before, but this felt different. He took a transport shuttle and entered orbit. No guards, no weapons. Only questions. The human ship accepted him in silence. As his shuttle docked, the hangar doors opened slowly, like a great mouth welcoming him inside. The air was strangely clean. The lights were soft blue and calm. No soldiers waited. No traps, just a hallway. He walked through it with steady steps, the sound of his boots echoing off the smooth metal floor. As he turned a corner, a door opened on its own, and inside stood a figure, a human. Tall, dressed in white, face half covered. "By a visor, you came," the human said. His voice was low but gentle. "You invited me," Vorik replied. "Why?" "Because you seek truth," the human answered, "and you've earned it." The human gestured to a round table in the center of the room. It glowed softly as they sat down. The human placed a small crystal on the table. It shimmered, then projected images into the air. "This is Earth's true history," he said. "The one no one else wanted you to know." The images began. They showed Earth in its golden age, cities floating in clouds, starships powered by light, forests that sang with energy. Humans had once mastered peace and war alike, growing into a race that didn't just expand, they guided others, healed worlds, saved dying stars. "We were not gods," the human said, watching the images. "But we tried to become something more, something better." Then the images darkened. They showed alliances with other species. Trade, science, unity. Until one day, the council passed a secret vote. One that changed everything. Vorik leaned forward. They feared you. They feared what we could become, the human replied. We solved problems they couldn't. We ended wars they started. They said we were too powerful to be equal. Vorik saw scenes of betrayal council agents planting false evidence, accusing Earth of crimes. Other species were manipulated to turn against them. Then came the worst part. The images showed Earth burning, not from outside attacks, but from sabotage. Entire colonies destroyed by their own allies. They tried to erase us, the humans said. Not just from history. From existence. Vorik's eyes burned. But why didn't you fight back? The human's face turned sad. Because we understood. Something they didn't, he said. If we fought, we would prove their fear was right. So we left, quietly, completely. Vorik couldn't believe what he was hearing. You disappeared by choice. Yes, the human nodded. We erased ourselves, we hid, not to escape but to prepare. To grow beyond hate, beyond revenge. The next images showed Earth's retreat. Ships flying into dark space, never. To return, then something incredible, Earth rebuilt itself. Not just stronger but wiser. We studied ourselves. We cured violence. We built worlds without greed. And we watched the galaxy, waiting to see if it had learned too. Vorik stood. Slowly. You were watching us all this time? Yes, said the human. Every war. Every peace treaty. Every lie. Vorik stepped closer. Then why return now? The human removed his visor. His eyes glowed faintly blue, not with anger, but with deep sadness. Because you found solace, he said. And because people like you are finally ready to face the truth. Vorik felt a heavy weight on his chest. The council had lied for generations. The people had believed myths. But now the truth burned too bright to ignore. There's more, the human added. He activated a new image, this one darker, hidden deeper in the memory core. It showed Earth's final warning before it left. A recorded message from Earth's last great leader. We leave not in weakness but in hope. When they are ready to grow, we will return. But if they remain blind, we shall become their reminder. Vorik looked up slowly. That's what you are, a reminder. Yes, the human replied. A mirror. You see yourself in us. What you were, what you feared, but also what you can become. Silence filled the room for a long time. Vorik finally asked the question he had feared most. What happens now? The human didn't smile. He only spoke with calm strength. That depends on you. When Vorik returned to the core planet, the world was waiting. News of his visit had already spread. His eyes told the story before his mouth did. He gathered the council, what remained of it, and stood before them. You lied to us, he said. You hid the truth, and millions suffered because of it. But now, the truth has returned. And Earth is not our enemy. They are our beginning. Drex, tired and defeated, didn't argue. No one did. Vorik walked outside and faced the crowd. He spoke not as a leader, not as a hero, but as someone who had seen what truth really looked like. They had every reason to destroy us, he said. But they chose to remind us, to give us a second chance. We can either rise or repeat our mistakes. The people cheered, but Vorik didn't raise his hands in victory. He only looked up at the stars. That night, the human ship sent one final image to every screen in the galaxy. It was Earth, not burning. Not broken, but beautiful. Blue oceans, green lands, golden towers that stretched into the clouds. A planet reborn, not with power, but with peace. And under the image, just one line. The past cannot be changed, but the future is yours to choose. The stars looked peaceful, but every major world in the galaxy held its breath. The truth about Earth had been revealed, its betrayal, disappearance, and the silent growth it chose instead of war. The people now saw humans not as a threat, but as something ancient, powerful, and watching. And now, Earth was moving. Vorik stood on the balcony of the Galactic Corps' rebuilt Council Tower, watching the stars shift. Human ships, sleek, dark, and massive, had started to appear across the sky, not just one or two, but many. Each one came without weapons drawn, without threats. They hovered quietly above trade hubs, border worlds, and council planets, like guardians from a forgotten time. But not everyone was calm. "The return has begun," said Rill, standing beside Vorik. Her crystal body glowed softly. "Some think it means peace. Others think it's only the first step before control." Vorik turned to her. "Earth doesn't want control. They had the power to destroy us 100 times, but they didn't." "That may be true," Rill replied, "but fear spreads faster than truth." And it was spreading. On the outer colony of Drassel, 2 Earth probes landed near a mining site. Within minutes, workers fled. Leaders there ordered defense shields to activate, even though no threat came. On Zakarian Prime, a cloaked Earthship simply hovered in the sky. The local governor screamed into the council network, "They're spying on us. Get them out of here." But there was no spying, only silence. Only watching. Still whispers of fear turned into actions. Some planets began to build up defenses. Old weapons were powered on. A few military leaders from the past formed an alliance, called the Iron Edge Group, that believed Earth's patience was just a trap. One voice, however, refused to give in to fear. Vor Ik. Standing before a live broadcast watched by billions, he spoke clearly. "Earth gave us the truth. They gave us history, memory, and the chance to rise. If we meet them with fear again, we may not get another chance." He paused before adding, "This is not Earth's test. This is ours." His words reached millions, but they also reached those who didn't want peace. Deep within the remains of the broken silence network, a few powerful leaders still met. They called themselves the Last Flame. They believed Earth had to be stopped now, before it was too late. "We've waited long enough," said a voice behind a mask. "They're spreading across space, pretending to be peaceful. But soon they'll strike." Another voice added, "If we hit them first, we control the story." So they prepared a secret weapon, a gravity pulse warhead, silent, undetectable, and strong enough to break a planet in half. The target, one of Earth's observation ships stationed near the twin moons of Alara. The warhead was launched in silence. Invisible, inevitable. But Earth had changed. As the warhead approached, the Earthship activated a quiet field of blue light. The warhead stopped mid-space, frozen. Then, without a sound, the device was disassembled piece by invisible machines that seemed to float from nowhere. Earth did not attack back. They simply sent a message to every screen on Alara: "We will not punish, but we will not allow harm." The entire galaxy watched in silence. Vorik, seeing the footage, sat quietly in his chamber. "They're still holding back," he whispered. Later that day, Vorik received a direct message from the human ship above Core Planet. "We request to speak in person on your world." The message was simple, calm, but powerful. The council gathered at once. Most had changed after the truth came out. They no longer saw Earth as an enemy. Still, many were nervous. What do they want to discuss? Someone asked. "Maybe peace," said Rill. "Or maybe terms," said another. "They could have given us terms long ago," Vorik replied. "But they didn't. I believe they truly want to talk." And so permission was granted. A small ship landed quietly outside the council tower. It was black with silver lines, smooth and shaped like a falling leaf. The door opened, and one human stepped out. He was tall, calm, wearing armor that shimmered like glass but moved like cloth. "No weapon, no guard. I am called Elion," he said. I speak for Earth. Inside the council chamber, he faced the leaders with no anger in his eyes. We come not to rule, Elian said. Not to control, we come to connect. The room remained quiet. Then Vorik asked, why now? Elian answered, because you are remembering. Because for the first time in many lifetimes, you listened. He placed a small crystal on the table. This is the gate key, he said. It will open a path to Earth, not just to visit, but to understand. Gasps filled the room. You're inviting us? Rill asked softly. We are inviting those who wish to learn, Elian replied. We are no longer hiding. But we will not force you. The council went silent. The decision had to be made. And then, to everyone's surprise, Vorik stepped forward. I will go, he said. So did Rill. Then more voices joined, leaders, scholars, healers. The Earth envoy nodded. Then, prepare. The journey begins at dawn. The next day, a new kind of fleet formed above the core planet. Not warships, not escape pods, but peaceful vessels ready to travel to the most mysterious place in the galaxy. To Earth. Vorik stood on the bridge of his ship, staring out into space as the path opened. A gate formed like a whirlpool made of stars. The gate key pulsed once, and the fleet moved forward. As they entered the gate, Vorik held his breath, and when they came out the other side, he gasped. There it was. Earth, not broken, not dusty, but alive. Oceans that glowed under two suns. Cities made of living glass. Mountains that floated in the sky. It was more beautiful than any myth. Welcome home, said a voice on the intercom. The ships landed gently. The visitors were greeted not by soldiers, but by children, artists, and elders. Earth had changed. It had become something beyond power. It had become peaceful because it had suffered. Vorik stepped onto the soil, his heart full. You forgave us, he said to Elian, who walked beside him. We forgave ourselves first, Elian answered. That night, Earth sent one more message to the galaxy. We have returned not to rule, but to remind. We offer friendship, wisdom, and unity. The past is over. The future begins now. And across the stars, billions listened. Some in fear, some in hope, but all in silence, because when Earth speaks, the galaxy listens. The skies above Earth were quiet again, but the galaxy was no longer the same. After the gate key opened a path back to Earth, dozens of peaceful ships arrived, ambassadors, thinkers, scientists, and leaders, all seeking to understand what humanity had become. But something unexpected was about to happen. It began with a signal, faint, strange, and ancient. The signal came from deep space, far beyond Earth's solar system, past the known territories in the region once marked as uncharted. A place long feared, where ships vanished and probes never returned. The humans picked it up first. Their listening stations, now far more advanced than anything the Council had ever imagined, recorded it. A rhythm, a pattern, not noise, not nature. It was language. The human, known as Elian, called an emergency meeting in Earth's Sky Dome, an enormous floating hall above the city of Lume. Vorik, Rill, and other visiting delegates were invited. No guards, no weapons, just minds ready to face the unknown. Elian played the sound again. It echoed through the dome like a whisper, soft, almost a song. What is it? Rill asked. It's not from us, Elian said. And it's not from you. Vorik's eyes narrowed. Then who? The room stayed silent. Elyon answered. We believe it's from a species no one has ever seen. A civilization older than Earth, possibly older than the Council itself. Gasps filled the air. But why now? Asked one ambassador. Why show themselves after so long? We don't know, Elian said. But we believe they saw our return, Earth's return. And they decided to speak. What are they saying? Vorik asked. Elian's voice lowered. It's a request, a meeting. The air turned heavy. Earth called the signal the Vara. Transmission named after the first human linguist who translated the first few words. Come, speak, remember. Vorik leaned forward. They're not just watching. They remember us. No, Elian said. They remember all of us. The council debated for days. Some wanted to ignore the signal. Too dangerous, too unknown. Others believed it was the final test, but Earth made its decision clear. We will answer, Elian said, but not alone. So a mission was formed, a joint fleet of human and council ships. Vorik volunteered without hesitation. So did Ril, a small group of the galaxy's bravest minds. Their destination, the origin of the signal deep in a dead system with no name, where even starlight moved slower. As the fleet approached, systems flickered. Energy levels dropped. It was as if space itself pushed back. Then something appeared, a single object, not a ship, not a station, a structure the size of a moon, floating in the dark, covered in strange symbols and moving patterns. It pulsed with blue and silver lights. It's beautiful, Ril whispered. Their ship stopped a safe distance away. Then, a message appeared on every screen, in every language at once. Send one. We will show. Vorik turned to Elian. I'll go. I will too, Ril said. No, Elian replied. Only one may enter. That's the message. Vorik looked into the dark and nodded. Then let me be the one. He entered a small pod and approached the structure. As he drew closer, his screen blinked out. Communication was lost. Then the pod disappeared. Inside the structure, Vorik found himself standing. Not in a room, but in a memory. The air was bright, like sunlight underwater. Colors shifted. Walls moved like waves. And in front of him stood something, not a creature. Not metal. A presence. It spoke not with words, but through feeling. You are not from here, but you carry history. Vorik felt his mind open. Images filled his thoughts, Earth rising, falling, healing. The council's lies, the silence, the return. You watched? He asked. We watched all. We remember before memory. Why call us now? He asked. The answer came as a vision. Earth, surrounded by stars, standing between chaos and peace. And behind Earth, shadows, something old. Something coming. Others wake, the presence said. Not like you. They bring ending, not growth. Vorik's voice shook. You mean war? Worse, forgetting. He saw stars blink out. Civilizations turned to dust, not by weapons, by silence, by erasure, a warning. You have returned, said the presence. But now you must decide. Will you be the shield or the shadow? Vorik felt his heart race. You want us to lead? We want you to remember. Only memory protects. Then, the presence faded. Vorik woke in his pod. He was back, but the world had changed. When he returned to the fleet, his voice was clear. They are not a threat. They are a warning. He shared what he saw. The fleet listened. The council listened. Earth listened. The galaxy, once divided by fear, now stood at a crossroad. Elyon placed a hand on Vorik's shoulder. We returned for peace, Elian said. Now we return for protection. The first contact had not brought enemies. It had brought responsibility. The future was no longer about power, but about memory. About unity. And in the dark corners of the galaxy, something began to stir. Watching. Waiting. But Earth was no longer alone. The galaxy would stand together, because the first contact had begun the true journey. The stars felt colder now. Something ancient had awakened. Vorik couldn't sleep. He stood at the window of Earth's sky dome, staring at the black space beyond the moon. Ever since the first contact with the mysterious Vara structure, the galaxy had changed again. Earth had returned, but now something else was coming, something darker, older, and unstoppable. He remembered the words of the presence inside the Vara. Others wake. they bring forgetting. No one truly knew what that meant. But scientists, Earth watchers, and even psychic beings across the galaxy all felt the same thing. Something terrible was drawing closer. Across the stars, systems had begun to flicker and fade. Signals stopped, whole planets went dark, trade routes shut down. Ships disappeared in lightless corners of space. It was like the galaxy itself was shrinking into silence. In a council meeting deep beneath Earth's surface, the leaders of every major species gathered once again. Vorik, Rill, Elion, and even Drex, the once stubborn council elder, were all present. "We've confirmed it," Elion said. His voice was calm, but serious. "It's not a war fleet. Not a Varus. It's memory loss, reality collapse." Rill leaned forward. "What do you mean, collapse?" Elion paused. Then explained. "The stars that went dark, they didn't just stop shining. They disappeared from every record, every map, every mind. Even the people who lived near them forgot they ever existed." A cold silence followed. Vorik whispered, "That's what the Vara meant by forgetting." Elion nodded. "Yes, something is rewriting the galaxy, removing pieces of history. Not killing us, erasing us." The question rose like fire in every heart. "Why?" Rill asked it out loud. "What does it want?" Elion looked around the room. "It doesn't want anything. It simply is a force. A cycle. Something old and endless." Drex, who had once hated Earth, now sat pale. "Then how do we stop it?" Elion slowly turned to the center of the chamber, where a new machine had been built. It was a sphere floating, glowing softly with human and alien energy woven together. "This is the memory core," Elion said. "A final defense." Rill blinked. "A weapon?" "No," Elion replied. "A choice." He explained. The core was created using Earth's deepest technology and the Vara's ancient pattern. It could either preserve or erase. It could either remember everything, every species, every story, or shut everything down in one final silence. "If we do nothing," Elion said, "the force will consume the galaxy slowly, piece by piece. But if we use the core, we lock reality in place, forever." Vorik frowned. "Forever?" "Yes," Elion said. "It would stop the erasure, but it would also stop change. No new stars, no new life. Just permanent memory." The weight of his words hung heavy. "And if we don't use it?" Rill asked. "Then we risk losing everything. Every world, every name, every dream." Drex shook his head. "So we're forced to choose between frozen memory or total loss." "Not forced," Elion said quietly. Aloud, that night, Vorik sat in the Earth Gardens. Wind touched his face, and flowers glowed gently around him. Rill joined him. "We're not ready," she said. "No," Vorik replied. "But no one ever is." She looked at the stars. "If we choose to preserve, then the galaxy never grows again. Everything stays the same. Is that really life?" Vorik nodded. "And if we choose nothing, everything dies." Suddenly, a light flashed in the sky. A planet one of the outer colonies vanished. Not exploded, not attacked, just gone. And with it, millions of lives. Forgotten. The galaxy was running out of time. The next morning, the council met again. Only one thing remained, the final decision. Elion stepped forward. "The memory core is ready," he said. "One voice must speak the final command, one person, one truth." Every eye turned to Vorik. "You were the first to seek the truth," Elion said. "Now you must choose what to do with it." Vorik stepped forward slowly, his mind filled with images, the lies of the council, the secrets of Earth, the message from the Vara, the lives lost, the stars gone. He looked at everyone and spoke softly. "If we choose memory," he said, "we protect the past, but we lose our future. If we choose freedom, we risk losing everything. So the real question is..." He paused. "Do we deserve a future?" Silence. And then he turned to Elian. "Activate the core," Vorik said. But only one part. Everyone watched as Elian stepped back, pressed a command, and the sphere glowed brighter. Vorik touched the core. "Let us keep memory," he whispered. "But not freeze it. Let us remember and grow." A new light burst from the core. Instead of locking the galaxy, it spread memory like a wave. Every erased planet returned. Every name forgotten was spoken again, but time continued. The future remained open. The core had changed, adapted, because Vorik had chosen not fear. But hope dot across the galaxy. People wept with joy as stars returned. Earth's message echoed once more. The past is a guide, not a cage. And the force, the eraser of reality, vanished. It had no power against unity, against memory shared by many. It could only erase what people allowed to be forgotten. The galaxy had remembered itself and chosen to move forward. The stars shimmered like a song of light across the black sky. For the first time in centuries, they all remained lit. Worlds once forgotten were now alive again. Lost names returned. Vanished civilizations remembered. Thanks to the memory core, the galaxy had been saved not by weapons, but by choice. By remembering. But even after the light returned, something still felt unfinished. Earth was quiet, its skies calm, its cities peaceful. Yet, the humans had become distant again. The powerful ships that once hovered over planets now stayed hidden. The once active human envoys returned to Earth. The galaxy watched and waited. Whispers began. What is Earth planning now? Why? Are they silent? Is this their victory or their farewell? Vorik sat alone near the ocean cliffs of Earth's southern coast. Below, the water danced in silver waves. Above, the stars watched silently. He heard footsteps behind him. It was Elian. Vorik didn't turn. "It's been weeks," he said. No broadcasts, no movement, no words. Elian stood beside him, watching the horizon. "Because we're writing the final one." Vorik looked up. "Message?" Elian nodded. "Not to one planet, not to one council, but to everything." Vorik's heart beat faster. "Why?" Elian didn't answer at first. He simply looked out to the sky. Then he said, "Because it's time for the galaxy to speak for itself. We've done our part." The next day, the humans sent an open invitation to every planet, species, and alliance in the galaxy. Leaders were asked to gather on Earth, at the Hall of Stars, a place built in the old crater where the first human starship once launched. No weapons allowed, no guards. Only minds, voices, and memories. They came in thousands. Ril, glowing softly, sat near Vorik. Drex was there too, older and changed. Warriors, poets, engineers, and historians from hundreds of worlds filled the vast hall. Then silence. Elian walked to the center. He looked around. No armor, no shield. Just simple white robes and a crystal in his hand. "I do not speak for power," he said. "I speak for memory, for meaning, for what Earth has seen." The hall stayed still, hanging on every word. "Long ago," Elian continued, "we tried to grow too fast. We helped too many, too quickly. We made enemies of those we only wanted to help, and when fear rose, we were erased." He held up the crystal. "This crystal contains not just Earth's memory, but the galaxy's. Pain, growth, peace, and war. It belongs to all of us." He placed the crystal on a platform. And suddenly, the air shimmered. Everyone saw images around them. Earth in its early days, the rise of the council, betrayal, silence, the return. Then the memory core and the final choice. Then came something new. A message, a voice not Elian's, but Earth itself. Every star system received it at the same time. On every screen, every signal. "We are Earth. We do not come to lead. We come to learn. We do not wish to rule. We wish to remind. We are not perfect, We made mistakes, we were broken. But we chose to return not with weapons, but with memory. The images continued. Children from different species learning together. Scientists building together. Ships designed by many hands. Voices singing in different languages. We offer a path, not one future, but many. Together. Then, silence. The message ended. The images faded. The crystal dimmed. No one moved. Then Vorik stood. His voice was soft but firm. You could have ruled the galaxy, he said to Elian. You had every reason, every chance. Elian nodded. But then we wouldn't be Earth anymore. A murmur spread. Not fear, not doubt, but understanding. One leader stood up, then another, and another. They each walked to the platform and touched the crystal. A symbol of agreement, of unity, of trust. Rill smiled. This is what the galaxy was meant to be. Later that night, Earth lit up like a jewel. Every city celebrated. Ships from every species circled the planet. Lights filled the sky like fireworks. Of unity, Vorik walked with Elian again near the cliffs. Do you think it'll last? He asked. Lyo looked up. It doesn't have to, but it has to begin. Vorik nodded. So, is this goodbye? Elian smiled. No, it's just the first. Real hello. As the stars turned slowly above them, a new kind of broadcast began. Not just from Earth, but from a united galaxy. One filled with memories, choices, and hope. A galaxy that would never forget again. Because Earth's message was not a warning. It was a promise.